The appeal of a game that puts you in massive locations and gives you the freedom to properly explore them is simply undeniable. And over the course of 2023, we've had plenty of those. From open world titles to semi-open world ones, and everything in between, there's been a widespread of such titles to choose from over the last several months, and here we're going to pick out a few that really stood out to us. Starfield. Bethesda Game Studios has always had a knack for crafting impressively huge sandboxes for players to lose themselves in, and Starfield sticks to that tradition, letting players explore an entire galaxy at their own leisure. Sure, the emptiness of space and the game's use of procedural generation for over 1,000 planets may not be to everyone's liking, but even if you limit yourself to the handcrafted locations, there's simply no shortage of real estate to explore. Hogwarts Legacy. The open-world Hogwarts game so many had been dreaming of for years finally came out earlier in 2023, and it's fair to say that it definitely lived up to the expectations, especially with its meticulously detailed and authentic recreation of the Hogwarts castle itself. Exploring the magical labyrinthine school and the massive areas around it is easily one of the game's highlights, even if it is held back at times by the excessive emphasis it puts on areas outside of the school itself. Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Size isn't nearly important in Insomniac's Spider-Man games as speed and momentum are, but Marvel's Spider-Man 2 excels in all areas regards. The island of Manhattan returns from the first two games, but the map is nearly doubled in size, with the addition of Brooklyn and Queens. Above all, navigating New York and its boroughs is an absolute blast, thanks to new traversal mechanics that are somehow even better than the previous two games. Forspoken. It's fair to say that Forspoken proved to be a disappointment in several ways, from its storytelling and writing to the game's repetitive structure. Similarly, even though Forspoken certainly does boast a pretty large open world, it's let down by the fact that it feels largely empty, with not nearly enough engaging content to encourage exploration. That said, the traversal is, at the very least, consistently enjoyable, which makes getting around fun, if nothing else. Final Fantasy XVI. Ever since it was confirmed that Final Fantasy XVI wouldn't be an open world, opinion was split on whether the developer had actually made the right call. Well, if it was content or size you were worried about, Final Fantasy XVI certainly dispelled those concerns. It features multiple distinct maps of varying sizes that, put together, make for a world that's not only quite huge, but is also teeming with enough content to keep you occupied for dozens upon dozens of hours. Cyberpunk 2077: Phantom Liberty. 2023 was a year of revitalization for Cyberpunk 2077, and Phantom Liberty's addition of Dogtown to the base game had an important role to play in that. Though just a single new district in an already large area, Dogtown certainly stands out in memory thanks in large part to the many eye-catching sights it houses, from impressive futuristic architecture to the ruins and debris of once great structures. And of course, you can always head back out into the base map if you want to explore an even larger area. Horizon Forbidden West: Burning Shores. In 2022, Horizon Forbidden West delivered what is probably one of the most impressive open world maps we've seen in years. And earlier this year, Guerrilla Games added to it with the Burning Shores expansion, which takes players to the half-submerged and volcanic ruins of Los Angeles. And not only is this new location absolutely gorgeous, as is expected at this point in the series, but also has some of the best content we've ever experienced in a Horizon game. Many who've played the expansion have said that its map stands toe-to-toe with the base game, and it's hard to disagree with that assertion. The Crew Motorfest. The Crew Motorfest is a pretty significant shift for the open-world franchise, leaving behind the mainline United States for a festival-themed recreation of the island of Oahu, and for our money, it's a gamble that definitely paid off. Though not nearly as large as the first two games, the Crew Motorfest map is still no slouch where its size is concerned, while more importantly, thanks to an abundance of gorgeous environments and a ton of gameplay variety. It's also infinitely more fun to explore or simply just drive around in. Everspace 2. For those who may have been disappointed in Starfield's take on open-world space exploration, Everspace 2 might be the game that scratches that itch for you. After spending over 2 years in early access, it launched in full in 2023 and ended up delivering what might be one of the year's most underrated titles. Among many other things, its open-world map, which is just as impressively designed as it is expansive, definitely deserves special praise here. Dead Island 2. Dambuster Studios smartly chose to veer away from a fully open world setting for Dead Island 2, and even in its absence, the zombie slaying action RPG manages to be an impressively sized experience. With multiple regions of varying sizes to explore, the game never seems to run out of impressive sights to show in its bright and bloody take on an undead-filled Los Angeles. Diablo 4. Diablo 4 features a seamless open world, and its implementation is fantastic. The entire game world being open to exploration and scaling with players meant that you are not disincentivized from going off the critical path either. In fact, you might even find some great loot or some cool new stuff along the way. Add to that the great horseback riding that the move to the open world also necessitated, and the whole thing just comes off as a net win. Lies of P. Lies of P is not an open world, but if one combines all the in-game areas, we will have a game that is pretty darn big in its own size. Featuring Souls-like level design, Lies of P also excels in its boss fights. While the King of Puppets is included at the end, we're seeing several bosses for the first time. There are mutated creatures wielding heavy weapons, sleek-looking puppets that can impale P, and even a massive foe that moves with incredible speed. Each fight is unique, so you'll need to adjust your strategy accordingly in this world. Lords of the Fallen. Much like Lies of P, Lords of the Fallen is not an open world game, but it features large areas that are filled with challenges and boss fights. Featuring complex level design that will take players a while to explore, the game also excels in its gameplay mechanics. Featuring the dual realm mechanic, players travel back and forth between the realms of Axiom and Umbral, the latter being a much more terrifying counterpart to the former, and both being able to affect the other. Sons of the Forest. A horror game with survival mechanics set in an open world, Sons of the Forest is a blast for players who love a bit of a challenge. Featuring diverse locations, players will need to come across an intimidating threat, but just know you're not alone. Many of the same elements from the first game remain, but now you have AI companions. It's even possible to start wars between the mutants and tribes. Baldur's Gate 3. Though not an open world game in the traditional sense, you'll be hard pressed to find games that are as sprawling as this. Baldur's Gate 3's many sections put together not only make up a massive world, but also one that boasts an incredible amount of environmental variety. Of course, what really helps the game stand out is the sheer density of incredible content that can be found no matter where in the world you find yourself. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. As the largest game to date by the studio that developed both Division titles, calling Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora big might be a bit of an understatement. Taking players to the western frontier of the titular alien moon, Frontiers of Pandora lets players loose in a gargantuan map that's teeming with gorgeous vistas, dense vegetation, and an abundance of natural beauty. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Survivor is fun to explore, and finding its many secrets never really gets boring. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. The developer really went above and beyond in trying to deliver a massive map in Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom features a whole separate open world map that's just as massive in the form of the depths, while also adding even more explorable locations in the form of the Sky Islands, scattered throughout the skies above the world. So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.